Back with the elevation to Krishna consciousness by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Page number 18. Consequently, although there is no lack of money in the world, there is a scarcity of peace. So much human energy is being diverted to making money, for the general population has increased its capacity to make more and more dollars. But in the long run, the result is that this unrestricted and unlawful monetary inflation has created a bad economy all over the world and has provoked us to manufacture huge and costly weapons to destroy the very result of such cheap money-making. The leaders of the big money-making countries are not really enjoying peace, but are making plans to save themselves from imminent destruction by nuclear weapons. In fact, huge sums of money are being thrown into the sea by way of experiments with these dreadful weapons. Such experiments are being carried out not only at huge costs, but also at the cost of many lives. In this way, the nations are being bound by the laws of karma. When men are motivated by the impulse for sense gratification, whatever money is earned is spoiled, being spent for the destruction of the human race. The energy of the human race is thus wasted by the laws of nature because of man's aversion to the Lord. Who is actually the proprietor of all energies. Wow. So because of our aversion to the Lord, the energy of our human race is wasted by the laws of nature. Wealth is worshipped and is thus referred to as Mother Lakshmi, or the goddess of fortune. It is her position to serve Lord Narayana, the source of all the Naras, or living beings. The Naras are also meant to serve Narayana, under the guidance of the goddess of fortune. The living being cannot enjoy the goddess of fortune without serving Narayana, and therefore whoever desires to enjoy her wrongly will be punished by the laws of nature. These laws will make certain that the money itself will bring about destruction instead of peace and prosperity. Look at that. Unlawfully accumulated money is now being snatched from miserly citizens by various methods of state taxation for the future civil and international war fund, which is spending money in a wasteful and destructive manner. The citizens are no longer satisfied with just enough money to maintain a family nicely and cultivate spiritual knowledge, both of which are essential in human life. Now everyone wants money unlimitedly to satisfy insatiable desires. In proportion to the people's unlawful desires, their accumulated money is taken away by the agents of illusory energy in the shape of medical practitioners, lawyers, tax collectors, societies, constitutions, so-called holy men, famines, earthquakes, and many similar calamities. One miser was hesitated to purchase a copy of Back to Godhead magazine, spent $2 for a week's supply of medicine, and then died. Another man was refused to spend a cent for the service of the Lord, wasted thousands of dollars in a legal suit between the members of his home. There are innumerable similar instances occasioned by the dictation of illusory nature. Indeed, that is the law of nature. If money is not devoted to the service of the Lord, it must be spent as spoiled energy in the form of legal problems or diseases. Foolish people do not have the eyes to see such facts, therefore the laws of the Supreme Lord befool them. The laws of nature do not allow us to accept more money than is required for proper maintenance. There is ample arrangement by the law of nature to provide every living being with his due share of food and shelter. But the insatiable lusts of human beings have disturbed the arrangement set forth by the Almighty Father of all species of life. By the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, there is an ocean of salt, because salt is so necessary for the living being. God has in the same manner arranged for sufficient air and light, which are also essential. Anyone can collect any amount of salt from the natural storehouse, but constitutionally we cannot take more salt than we need. If we take more salt, we spoil the broth, and if we take less salt, our food becomes tasteless. On the other hand, if we take only what we require, our food is tasty, and we are healthy. Presently, there is a great deal of concern over the fact that our natural resources are becoming polluted and exhausted. Actually, there is ample supply, but due to misuse and greed, everything is spoiled. Everything is being spoiled. What conversationists and ecologists do not understand is that everything will continue to be spoiled by the insatiable lusts of mankind unless this Krishna consciousness process is taken up. It is impossible to have peace on any platform of existence without Krishna consciousness. Man is therefore suffering due to his insatiable desires and lusts. Not only is man suffering, but the planet on which he resides, his Mother Earth, represented in Srimad Bhagavatam by Mother Cow, is also suffering. Once a well-known Swami in India was asked whether God or Providence is responsible for the sufferings of humanity. The Swami replied that these sufferings were all God's pastimes, or Leela. The questioner continued to ask why a living entity should be put under the dictations of the law of karma. The Swami could not answer these questions to the satisfaction of his inquirers. The monists and impersonalists who think only in terms of oneness of the living entities with the Supreme Lord cannot give satisfactory answers to such questions. Such an imperfect reply can hardly satisfy the heart of a living entity. The Lord is described in all scriptures as Leela Purushottama, or the personality of Godhead, who is by his own nature always engaged in transcendental pastimes. In the Vedanta Sutra, he is also described as Anandamayo Bhyasat. The monists and impersonalists try with great difficulty to explain the sutra in diverse ways in order to support their imperfect theory of oneness and impersonality. However, the fact remains that Ananda, pleasure, cannot be enjoyed alone. That variety is the mother of enjoyment is a well-known fact. Cities, for instance, are known to be attractive if they contain a variety of things. Living entities are naturally attracted by variety, by attractive streets, buildings, cinemas, parks, conveyances, businesses, employments, foodstuffs, etc. Despite all this variety, the English poet Cowper once said, "The city is made by man, but the country is made by God." The countryside is also full of natural variegatedness in a crude form, whereas in the city, this variegatedness is displayed in a modernized scientific manner. Poets, like Cowper, are attracted to the variegatedness of the country, and prosaic people who live in the city are attracted by the colorful varieties manufactured by man. In any case, it is variegatedness which attracts people both to the country and the city. This is the proper explanation of the verse of the Vedanta Sutra. Many so-called swamis who are so frequently attracted by the cities often seek a kind of pleasure in society and feminine friendship. Generally, they are not attracted by the natural beauty of the woods, although they may assume the dress of a man who is meant to live in the woods. Such swamis are seeking varieties of enjoyment in matter, because they have no information of the variegatedness of spiritual life. On the one hand, they enjoy variegatedness in matter, and on the other hand, they deny spiritual variegatedness to the Absolute. Because they are pledged to the theory of monism and impersonalism, they deny that whatever pertains to matter can pertain also to spirit. According to them, spirit is the denial of matter. The fact is, however, that spirit is not a negation of matter, but matter is a perverted reflection of spirit. The real pleasure of variety exists in spirit without deluding relativity. On the other hand, inert matter in association with dynamic spirit manifests a false representation or a perverted reflection of that very spiritual variegatedness, which is so adamantly denied by the monist class of the so-called swamis. As stated before, the Supreme Lord is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, joyful by nature, and therefore he expands himself by his different energies, parts, and differentiated and plenary portions. The Supreme Lord is the absolute truth, and he is one without a second, but he also includes his diverse energies, parts, and plenary portions which are simultaneously one with and different from him. Because he is joyful by nature, he expands himself in diverse ways, and the activities of these expansions are called his transcendental pastimes, or lila, his lila. These pastimes, however, are not blind or inert. They exhibit full sense, independence, and freedom of action and reaction. The complexities of the actions and reactions of the diverse energies of the Absolute Truth constitute the subject matter of a vast science called the Transcendental Science of God, and the Bhagavad Gita is the ABC or primary book of knowledge for students interested in that science. Every intelligent human being should become interested in this transcendental science. Indeed, according to the opinion of the sages, human life is only meant for learning this science. The opening words of the Vedanta Sutra proclaim, "Now is the time to inquire about Brahman." Human life by nature is full of suffering, and lower life forms are even more miserable. Any sane man with properly discriminating senses can understand that life in the material world is full of miseries, and that no one is free from the actions and reactions of such miseries. This is not a pessimistic view of life, but is an actual fact that we should not be blinded to. The miseries of life are divided into three categories, namely, miseries arising from the body and mind, miseries arising from other living entities, and miseries arising due to natural calamities. A sane man must look to eliminate these miseries and therefore become happy in life. We are all trying to achieve peace and freedom from these miseries, at least unconsciously. And in the higher intellectual circles, there are attempts to get rid of these miseries by ingenious plans and designs. But the power that baffles all the plans and designs of even the most intelligent person is the power of Maya Devi, or the illusory energy. The law of karma, or the result of all actions and reactions in the material world, is controlled by this all-powerful energy, illusory energy. The activities of this energy function according to principles and regulations, and they act consciously under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Everything is done by nature in full consciousness. Nothing is blind or accidental. This material energy is also called Durga, which indicates that it is a force which is very difficult to surpass. No one can surpass the laws of Durga by any amount of childish plans. Jai, we're going to stop here. Lately we're stopping on a very dramatic notes, but yes, this will be it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And yes, we will continue tomorrow about heart struggles that we're going through due to our association with the illusory energy of the Lord because of our aversion to Him. So stay tuned, and this was Shravanam Diaries. The link to this book is in the description, as well as our email for your feedback or questions. And we will see you next time. Hare Krishna.